Hello, people of the world, and welcome back on the Marry in Motion podcast. Today, I meet with Emma again, that you have heard in previous episodes, where we talked about her life in Vietnam. Today, I would like to go deeper and to see what it was like to be a black woman in Asia. Does that sound good for you?
Yes. And hi, everyone.
Maybe you can give a bit of a context for those who didn't listen to the other episodes we did with you.
I went to Vietnam to pursue my master's degree. I went there for 2 years, and it was a great experience overall. I followed there a pharmacology, drug development degree, and that's what motivated me to go there in the first place.
When you first decided to move to Vietnam, did you think about your identity? Did you think that it might play a role in your experience over there?
Well, first I would like to make a small disclaimer, because this episode is quite different from the one we did first. I don't want to appear as a victim, or I don't want to criticize Vietnam or the Asian people. It's just something that happened to me, and that might happen to someone else, like a black person going to Asia. This episode will focus on me explaining what I've experienced and how I felt about it. I don't want to appear as a victim or something else.
Yeah, of course, it's just you sharing your experience.
But of course, before going there, I knew that it would be weird at some point, and I kind of prepared myself for it. For example, when I told my mother that I would be going to Vietnam, her first reaction was like, Vietnam? Like, why there, and why so far away, and do you know that you will be perceived as a black person? And I was like, yeah, but this will not stop me from traveling, you know? I know for sure that I am black, and I'm happy to be black. I will not change the color of my skin for anything in the world, for sure. But I don't want this to stop me from going where I want to go. And this was the first time that I felt the need to face that. And I thought that this travel would be a safe way to start.
Because before that, did you already want to travel somewhere and you didn't because you thought they might be racist?
Yes, I have a list of countries that I don't think I would be able to go there for now. Maybe in the future, why not, when I would be more brave to go there. But for sure there are countries that I don't want to set my foot in, but that's another story.
And you thought that Vietnam would be safe to start?
Yes, because I've heard different testimonies from persons saying that they felt overall safe, and even though they were being looked at a lot, they were not being assaulted or anything. So I was like, for as long as my integrity as a human being is like respected, is okay. I know that I will stood out, but I knew that it would stay safe. It would stay okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's good. A great way to start.
Mm-hmm.
But do you remember the first moment you realized you really stood out because you were black?
The moment I hopped on the plane, actually.
Already?
Yeah, because I had 2 planes to go there. The first one was from Paris to Dubai, and then Dubai to Hanoi. And when I hopped on the plane from Dubai to Hanoi, actually, I realized that there were 90% of Asians, and they were looking at me like, you sure you're taking the right plane? And I was like, yes. It's okay, we're going to the same country. And that's when I realized that, something is changing. And then when I arrived at the airport, I felt like the dynamic is clearly different, because the taxi driver that was waiting for me directly saw me. Actually, he didn't wait any second. He was like, oh, okay, I saw you. You're the one from the picture. So, okay, that's you. And he didn't even have to check my identity card or what. He saw a black girl. He was like, okay, you're the one. Let's jump on let's jump in the car.
And how did you feel? Were you surprised or concerned?
At the beginning, I just went with the flow. I was focused on different things, like finding an apartment, just settling in. And at the beginning, I was like, Emma, it's just part of the process. You've been preparing yourself for a month, so what is happening right now is clearly okay. For as long as they're not like threatening you or assaulting you, it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how were they behaving with you in public places?
This did not happen every single day. There were days where I was just a human being. And there were days where I was, for example, going to the university. I was working to the university and it was like a 15-minute walk. And I was crossing the neighborhood. And one thing that is important is that I didn't want it to live in the expat area because I wanted to live the full experience. And that also maybe influenced the way I was living because there were actually no other expat other than me. And the fact that I was black, it also...
Yeah, made things worse.
Yeah, it made things worse. I would not say worse because it's a bad word, but I was just going to school and people were like looking at me a lot. And for as long as it only looks, I'm okay. It's okay. But sometimes there were people coming at me directly and trying to take pictures of me. And I was like, Emma is just part of the process, just go with it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they were not asking for permissions. And I remember there was a guy that was maybe on a video call with someone and he just turned the camera and was like, oh, look. As if I was like, I don't know, some kind of entertainment. So I was like, I don't really like that, but I'll go with it. And looking back, what was the most complicated thing was that I couldn't really interact with them. Either because this was going super fast and I didn't have time to tell something, or either because I couldn't simply communicate with them because of the language barrier. So I didn't see myself trying to stop every people taking a picture from me. I didn't have the courage or the strength to tell them that it was not okay. I didn't feel legitimate to educate them because I was like, don't forget that it's not your country in the first place. So don't try to start problems because they're taking pictures of you. But I was also wondering if it was happening in France or in another country. Would I be...
if someone just takes a picture of you in France...
Would I be reacting differently? Yes.
Yeah.
Because I would be able to insult them or tell them that what they did wasn't okay. But because of the language barrier, all I had to do was bear with it, which is not really who I am in the first place. So that was kind of hard because I was feeling like I was losing a part of myself. Because if you know me, you know that I like to say things like out loud. I like to talk, to scream sometimes. And not being able to do that was like as if I was losing a part of me.
Especially because it's related to your identity. It's pictures of you for who you are.
Yeah. At the beginning, people were coming and I was like, okay, let's take a selfie together, let's smile. You will post it on Facebook or on the WhatsApp family group chat, I don't mind. But I didn't realize at first that I would be staying there for 2 years. And doing this for like a month is okay as a tourist. You're like, oh, okay, I went to Vietnam and I was kind of a superstar. People were like stopping me in the street and trying to take pictures of me. But this is okay if you do it like for a month, a few days, week, whatever. But for 2 years, it's quite long and tiring at some point.
Yeah, because you are always hyper visible. Everyone just notices you all the time. You cannot blend in.
And it became super duper hard. Even when I was like waiting for the bus at the bus stop, people were like looking at me crazy on their motos. I knew that this was going to happen, let's be honest. But at some point, it gets complicated. This is just hard. And you can't say them much because they're just looking at you. But being seen 24/7, also when you want to just take out the trash, go to the market. I remember one day I just wanted to buy fruits and I went to my local market and I was like the entertainment. People were like coming out from their homes, trying to see me, trying to touch me, and I was like, I'm not really okay with that, but I wasn't able to express that. And I came back home, I was super drained. I had no social battery left. And what I only wanted to was buy a lychee. So I was like, it's quite a lot.
Yeah, and I guess maybe the next time you wanted to buy something, you didn't go there, or you were preventing yourself from going to some places.
There were times where I didn't want it to feel that much seen. So what I was doing was shopping online and getting my food delivered on the same day, which is a good thing when you live in Vietnam. Everything arrives super fast, but I just wanted to have this normal life, but I guess I couldn't have it because I was black.
People interacted with you, like you said, they were staring at you, taking pictures. Did they try to touch you, your hair, your skin?
Yeah. I have a vivid memory in mind. If you know me, you know that I have a big scar on my right forearm. And this is something that I'm okay with. I've always seen that. It's part of me. But most people don't perceive it that way. And there, because of their beauty culture and the standard beauty they have, they don't want to see scars. They don't want to have tan skin, or they want to look is like the brightest as possible. They want to look white. And the fact that I was black and the fact that I had this scar, it made them want to touch me, want to see, as if I was like some kind of strange thing. And they were just curious. They were like, it's weird. And I remember there was a grandma or an old lady. She was, I would say, around 80 years. And she just came at me without saying nothing, and she took my arm and she touched my scar. And I felt bad for days. And I was like, you are not allowed to do that. And I remember that I just took my arm back from her and I was like, don't do that. Because no one ever did that, and I don't see why she would be able to do that. I didn't say nothing because it was just so quick, but I felt like she touched my soul, and I was like, I would not tolerate that.
Yeah,
either you're 80 years or 2 years old, I don't. And at some point, she didn't realize why I was reacting that way, and I was so tired of explaining to her what is
that is not okay.
Yeah. I didn't say nothing. I was just too shocked to speak even. I didn't realize that this early in the morning a lady would come and take my arm. I was like, And after a few days, I was angry at myself because I did wanted to say something. It's just that I didn't have the courage, or the language barrier was making me feel weak. And I was like, you're not going to waste time explaining to her what is good, what is not bad. But I felt bad because I wanted to say something.
I want to know, where is the line between curiosity and just
exoticism?
Yeah, like where is the line between curiosity that is innocent and racism and exotization?
Maybe for her it was innocent.
Yeah, but not for you.
But not for me. And it's because I knew that we don't have the same standards or limits. That's why at the moment I didn't want it to say something, because I didn't want it to start a scene in the street in the first place. And secondly, I was like, okay, she's 80-year-old. She might die tomorrow. It won't change something. The fact that I explained to her that you're not supposed to do this and that. But I would say that for most Vietnamese people, the Asian ones also, it was pure curiosity. And it's clear that they don't see black people often, especially where I was living. And this is also why I wanted to live there. And for the expat community, I would say it's more different. It's not curiosity anymore. Because most of the people who live there as expat, they were coming from countries where it's common to see black people. And I know that for some people I met, they were not happy to see me in Vietnam.
You mean that you experience racism from white expats too?
Yeah, not from Vietnamese people. I don't know if you can, what I've been experiencing from Vietnamese people, I don't know if you can call it racism, but from the other people, let's say the white people, the expats, yeah, they were quite mean sometimes.
Why was it like compared to, for example, what you might live in France? And if some French people were in Vietnam, they were more racist in Vietnam than in France?
They were saying things more freely there compared to what they would have said in France.
Yeah, maybe because you were completely in minority and you couldn't say
For
anything.
sure. They saw me walking by in the street and they just saw me alone. They could say whatever they wanted because they knew that I wouldn't be able to go to the police, because how the police officer would understand even what I am saying there. So that's why they felt, let's say, empowered to be meaner.
Not good.
No, it's not okay. And yeah, it's quite tiring, because that's why I'm glad to make this episode, because it's just me being able to go back and try to sort out what my feelings were. And there were things that I have accepted that I shouldn't have, or that I wouldn't have accepted if it was in another country.
But were there racist people in your circle? Like people you would see every day at school or stuff like that?
There was one guy. I remember he was living also in my neighborhood, and I don't know what he was doing there, but I would see him, let's say, once a week, and that was even too much. He was just working by, like I was, because I was going back home, and we were like making an eye contact, and he would just stop working, and he would just like stand still and look at me as if I was some trash, or if he wanted to kill me, you know? And he was like looking at me like, you're not supposed to be here.
Where was he from originally?
I don't even know.
That's
that's what made me upset the most. I wanted to know where that was coming from. And if it was happening once, I would have said, okay, Emma, you're just like being too much. The guy was just upset by something else. Not everything is about you. But the fact that this happens at least once a week, for me that was too much. And it was always the same scene. I was seeing him at the exact same place, and he was draining. I was like, I don't need that, please.
And you would know that it would happen.
And I knew that if I was in France or in another country, I would have punched that guy or scream or say something mean, because I knew I was capable to do that. But there, I couldn't.
Yeah, and also in France, maybe you have support from other people around you.
Yeah.
Because in Vietnam, they might not know what is happening and
and
how you're supposed to behave.
Those things are always tricky, you know, because it's always how you perceive it. But that, I knew exactly what that was. And it lasted for like 15 seconds. And I remember that it was stopping, and I was just keep on working. And when I was staring back, I just saw him like, the killing stare. And I was like, this is not okay. This is not allowed. I'm not supposed to be living this here or anywhere else.
And it happened, like, it never stopped?
Never stopped. I remember the day before I was leaving Vietnam for good, I saw him still, and I remember saying to myself, this fucking monster, I will not miss him. I will miss plenty of things from Vietnam, but not this guy.
How did all of these experience the way you see yourself as a Black woman? Did it change anything in your relationship with yourself and the others?
Now I am more aware of who I am, because for a long time I was just a girl. Actually, when I was growing up in France, I was just a girl. And arriving there, it made me realize that before being a girl, before being a human, I was Black, you know? And even the way people were like interacting with me, it felt sometimes fake. So now I know that I am who I am, and I'm okay with it, but I know that people might perceive me differently than how I want to be perceived, and that's quite sad, but it's okay.
And whether sometimes you felt positive about how you were perceived in Vietnam? For example, if you were treated differently but positively?
Yeah, I have a nice anecdote. When my mother came to visit me, we went to Ha Long Bay, and it was like a one-day cruise trip. It was super fun, and we were the only 2 black people there. And I remember our guide told my mother that she looks like Naomi Campbell. And other tourists, I think they were Chinese, and they heard this sentence, and they thought that my mother was actually Naomi Campbell. And we were like upgraded all day long. We were like super cared of. People were super nice with us. They took pictures of us only because they thought my mother was Naomi Campbell, which is not the case, but we felt privileged, and this doesn't happen often. So we were like, wow, that's nice.
That's very good.
Yeah. My mother, she loved that moment. So yeah, that's the only time it felt safe and it felt okay to live like that, because we knew that it would only last for one day.
And you mentioned that people would give you gifts or stuff like that. Did it happen often?
Yes, at the beginning, when I was going to the local market, they would give me extra food. They would give me more than what I was buying. I remember when I was going there to buy, bananas, because they're like quite tiny. After I paid, after everything was settled, the lady gave me more, and she kept on doing that for a long time. So that's also why I was going to that market.
Yeah, okay. And you think it was related to the fact that you were black, or just a foreigner, or
maybe
new?
Because I was a foreigner, and also because I was quite young. So the relationship I had with that lady was the safest, because she was super nice. She saw me passing by every day, and she was very happy to see me shopping there. She didn't expected me to do that, I think, so that's why she felt very happy whenever she saw me. And it was the same for me. I was like, she's the only one to actually treating me like a human being. She didn't took pictures of me. She just was nice. And when you feel sad or when you feel homesick, those little things there make your day go easier.
It's so cute.
I miss her. She was very nice.
Do you think the fact that you were a woman on top of being black changed also your experience? If you would have been a man, maybe it would have been different?
Yeah, because I met a guy there, and he happened to be black, and we spoke about it. And he told me that what I was experiencing on top of being a black human being in Vietnam was also sometimes sexism. Because half of what I was experiencing, he didn't saw it. It didn't happen to him. So I was like, interesting.
But that's also sad that you
also
had to see
sad,
it differently.
for sure, yeah. But I'm glad that I met him at the end of my trip, because if I had this conversation with him in the early days, I would have felt depressed. I wouldn't have to know that in the beginning.
But did you stay with some black people, or did you have a community of people with whom you could stay and feel safe and relate and everything?
At the beginning, no, but after a few months, I was looking for hair product, and I wanted to see whether or not I could find the product that I use for my type of hair. And fortunately, I found an Instagram page of someone that has a shop where they were selling the product that I was using ever since I was a baby. And it wasn't that far away from my place. So I was like, I need to go there. So I went there, and I saw this super nice black woman, and I don't remember her name, which is a shame. But when I arrived at her place, she was like, hey, this is my shop, and just come. And at the beginning, it was just the relationship you would have with any other business owner, I would say. And at the end, after a few minutes now, she just asked me where I'm from, why am I here, and then we stopped speaking about shampoo. We just spoke about our experience because she told me that she lived in Vietnam for quite some time, and she was like a pioneer actually. And we had that little sister, big sister relationship because I was going to her place quite often afterwards because I felt safe to say that, experienced that yesterday. Is it okay? Did that happen to you? How did you react? And the fact that she also lived that and it affected her the same way it did to me, I felt so much more relief. And looking back, it would have been sad for me not to be able to have that person because she was quite similar to me. She was like, no, don't worry, I experienced the same thing and it's okay, it's normal. There's not much thing you can do, sadly, but don't worry, it's okay.
Yeah, and to know that it happened to her, so it's not related to you personally.
Because at some point you start asking yourself, is it me that they don't like, or is it me that is weird? Is it my scar? What is it then? Because I don't have any comparison. So at some point I was like, okay, maybe that's me they don't like. Maybe that's me that I'm weird. And the fact that she was here to reassure me, telling me that she experienced the same thing, I was like, okay, it's not me. And sometimes that's sad because you feel like people are coming at you, trying to speak to you, trying to be friends with you only because of how you look and not because of who you are. And that was quite hard.
Did you have some disillusion in just having a nice conversation with someone and then you realize they just speak to you because they are black and you are black and they're like, oh wow, I spoke with a black girl?
Yes. Some people were coming at me when I was in the street and they were like starting to ask me questions, like basic question. Where am I from? Why am I here? And they wanted to deepen the conversation. But at some point I realized that they just wanted to speak to me for 5 minutes, only to be legitimate enough to ask for a selfie.
But at least they were nicer than
at
the
least they
people
were
that
polite.
would just... Yeah.
At least they asked, but it didn't go that much deeper. So I was like, okay, sad.
And what about dating? Were you perceived by some people in a sexual way? Or like, I don't know.
Again, the most problem I had was with the expats. Always. I was suffering from fetishism when I was interacting with the most expats men because they were like, oh, you're a nice black woman, we could meet. Oh, I've never been to your country, and blah, blah, blah. It was just draining, you know. And at some point I just stopped dating them because I was like, no, you don't see me for who I am. You just want the image of who I am.
And what about the locals?
The local...
Did they ever approach you or something?
Some of them approached me, but I knew that I wasn't their type because they have those beauty standards. And I have some, but they wouldn't go past my color. Some of them clearly told me I wouldn't be able to present you to my family because you're black. But thank God you have the right eye shape, the right nose shape, you have plump lips, you have oval face. So overall, if you were Vietnamese, you would be a 10 out of 10. But because you're black, let's say you're 9.5. And I was like, don't say that to me, please. And at some point, it kind of hurt my self-confidence. I had to build it back again when I arrived in France. Because back then, I didn't realize, but these were microaggressions.
Yeah, all the time. People telling you, oh, you would be better if you were not black.
And I was like, it's just who I am. I haven't chosen to be black, so please don't tell me that.
What advice would you give another black woman that would like to move to Asia, and especially Vietnam?
Be prepared for that. I think that we all have been prepared for that. I was also prepared for that, but being alone there, because when I say alone, I wasn't alone. I had friends, but they were either white or light skinned, so they couldn't experience the same things I was experiencing. And which is true because when we were going out together, I was the one that was looked at the most. People were coming at me and not them. Some of them were jealous about that, which I think is weird, but anyway. I would just suggest them to be prepared for that and not let those comments or looks affect them.
And find a community if they can.
If they
can. They can relate.
But don't stay too much with your community because afterwards it won't be the same.
if you
it's
go
not the
abroad,
same kind of
it's-
adventure. That's why also I choose to live far away from the expat, even if it meant that I was kind of assaulted. I would not say assaulted, but you see.
Has it influenced whether you would like to live abroad again?
100%. I know for sure that I would not live in Vietnam because of that. You know, I want to be in a country where I blend in, where I feel safe, and where I know that I can buy some bread without being an entertainment. I just want to be me, and I want to be perceived for who I am as a person. Not because I have a scar on my arm, or because I have braids, or because that was also tricky. Because I was having super duper long braids and people were like playing with them. I have a video when I was at the airport and there were like a family of, let's say, 6 people. They were like trying to take pictures of me playing with my hair.
Oh my god.
In 2 hours, Emma, you're in the plane. Don't freak out.
It's a bad last impression of the country.
Yes, and the only thing that pisses me off is that I can't react. I couldn't react the way I wanted to. Sometimes I am mad at myself because I'm here telling you this, where back then I could have done something.
Do you think now, if you would travel again in Asia and it would happen, would you react the same or would you say something? Because maybe you grew or you realized some stuff?
It would depend on the country. Because here I'm explaining everything that I have experienced in Vietnam. But when I was in Korea, even if it was for like 2 weeks, the relationship I had with the locals was completely different. Also because of their education. The Korean people are quite shy. They're more reserved. And for me, this was perfect. No one was coming at me. They were too shy to even ask for something. They were too shy to take pictures. So they were just staying on their side. I was staying on mine. And for me, it felt like a relief. I was like, oh wow. I can take the subway without being...
Yeah, just looked at.
Yeah, just being looked at. They were doing their life. I was doing my life. So I realized that my experience would have been different if I was in Korea. But I don't regret anything. It's just that the education also plays a part. Maybe because the Vietnamese people, they are like quite outgoing, more extroverts. So they don't get shy speaking to you. They're more maybe curious. And... maybe also because there are more black people in Korea, I don't know. But the fact that I felt the difference while changing the country, it was quite nice.
Because if you would have stayed in only one country, maybe you would have thought that everywhere in Asia it's bad and you don't want to go back.
But having an element of comparison is also nice. So looking back, I would just say that if I was to live in a country in Asia, it would be maybe South Korea over Vietnam because of that. But Vietnam is also a great country and I love it from the bottom of my heart.
Maybe not for living.
Not for living, for sure. For sure.
Okay, if you had to sum up your time in Vietnam in one sentence, what would it be?
Intense. In one word, sorry, you said one sentence. It was nice. I learned a lot about me. It was sometimes intense. Sometimes I cried. Other days I was super duper happy. And I think that it transformed me for the better. Now I'm more confident.
So well, I thank you very much for
You're
telling
welcome,
your experience today.
Thank you for allowing me to come back.
Yeah, of course. Yes. So I hope that if someone is listening to us that is black or of a minority that is going traveling, that it encourages you to do it and that it's not that bad, and if it is, then you can also always come back.
At the end of the day, traveling is a nice thing. Don't stay at home because you're afraid to be looked at. Go out, it's better.
I like this. Thank you for listening to us and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.